Pedophilia is much more than we think. Let's explore this sensitive topic. Automass photo. Hi everyone, we are going to be discussing pedophiles and pedophilia. This is a very sensitive topic due to stigma and shame. Pedophilia is essentially a sexual attraction to children, whether acted upon or not. Pedophilia is also a crime. While I do not advocate or support pedophilia, I will remain as unbiased as possible. Some people may see pedophilia simply as a sexual orientation. Someone is straight, gay, attracted to someone who looks or acts a certain way, older people, or maybe even younger people or children. While being attracted to children may seem to be at the same level as being attracted to an elderly person, it actually goes much deeper than this. I won't go into much detail about those who are interested in much older men and women, but some of what I will share can apply to them as well. Pedophilia is not a sexual orientation or preference, but goes much deeper. First, we must understand more about the age barrier, maturity, puberty, and our ancestors. We go through puberty during our preteen and early teen years. This is the time when our bodies are getting ready to be able to reproduce. Nature determines that a younger body is more fit and capable of surviving and providing for healthy offspring. There is no doubt that many of our ancestors could be viewed as pedophiles by today's standards, as they have reproduced with younger children capable of having babies. Even other species of animals could express pedophilic actions since they are driven to copulate with younger members of their species. However, in human society, it's technically only considered pedophilia when an older person of the legal age of consent engages in sexual activity with someone who is younger than this age. The age of consent varies based on where you live. Society says it's wrong to be attracted to minors because humans have created this rule. But as I mentioned, our ancestors and animals have all engaged in this activity. So what brings about the stigma regarding pedophilia? It's primarily because engaging in a sexual act with a minor is considered a form of abuse. Even if the minor has consented to it, we declare the act to be sexual abuse due to the difference in age. However, we must also keep in mind that the law is separate from our physical, mental, and emotional maturity. If the legal age of consent is 18 years old, the human mind typically is not fully mature. We may still make unwise decisions that could impact the rest of our life or someone else's. Since our brain doesn't fully develop until we reach our mid-20s, should the legal age of consent then be set somewhere within that range? What about kids who have yet to go through puberty, generally around age 10 and under? This is the primary group that I will discuss, because the pedophile has many other motives than just an animalistic need to reproduce. A pedophile may be man or woman. While we may hear more about the male pedophiles, female offenders also exist. Why are pedophiles sexually attracted to children? As I mentioned before, some people believe it's a type of sexual orientation. It may appear to be this way, but it's actually much more that may be traced back to trauma in childhood. Severe trauma in the past can lead to a myriad of conditions and disorders. Perhaps a child who was molested was shamed into hiding it, repressing the memory, and later developed an attraction to children, repeating the cycle of abuse. They are trapped in the state that developed in the past because life is telling them that they need to recognize the trauma and overcome it. Trauma keeps repeating until it is recognized, addressed, worked on, and overcome. Most all current issues in someone's life can be traced back to childhood. We must also not forget the purity and innocence children have. This is essentially what the pedophile is after. The pedophile may feel ashamed of themselves and their attractions, so they desire to get back that innocence they had in childhood, prior to the abuse, perhaps the molestation that was done to them. Sexual energy is an extremely powerful force and connects us to the universal energy that surrounds all of us, so it's much more than physical and sexual attraction that pedophiles are after. As As a result of their search for personal innocence and their inability to address past trauma, they end up taking the innocence from another child, which continues the cycle of abuse. A pedophile is also likely to target children because they are much easier than adults to dominate. The power someone has when taking control of a child may mirror the form of abuse that they have experienced as a child. By physically and psychologically consuming a child's innocence, purity, and spiritual energy, the pedophile may feel stronger and more in control of the adult life they feel has been ruined or destroyed. Some pedophiles may even condition a young child into enjoying sexual activity and considering it a form of play. The other well-kept secret is that the world is run by narcissists and pedophiles. As disappointing as it sounds, our world revolves around power, money, and control. You cannot succeed if you don't know how to manipulate people and to get what you want. This is the very definition of government and political power. Those who run the world are in it only for themselves. Our political, medical, and scientific infrastructures are all controlled, manipulated, and altered to make us believe a false reality. They are all run by narcissists that also tend to be pedophiles. And we must also not forget the government organizations that are intended to protect children from an abusive household, but actually neglect and dismiss abuse being done in the home. These same organizations will only take the child out of the home if they deem it serious enough, or they fabricate lies about the family's neglect and abuse on the child. When the child is taken out of the home, they may be turned over to pedophiles that will continue the abuse. It's very common for children to be taken out of an abusive home and be put in an even more abusive home. The corruption of government to do this to children is purposefully and strategically implemented by way of the already corrupt political, medical, and scientific infrastructures that is already firmly rooted into society and in the minds of the brainwashed victims that live each day believing the lies fed to them. The reason we don't hear much about this in the news media is because they too are in on it. We are fed carefully constructed lies from the top to the bottom, going from political, medical, and scientific to news media to brainwashing the public into believing one side. You can spot someone who is brainwashed if they don't question anything the government, news, or their doctor tells them. Free thinking is taken away from these individuals, which is what government wants. We must also look at how society is starting to accept childhood sexuality and expression. Children are being taught younger and younger about sexuality, gender, non-binary genders, transgender, what it means to be a woman, a man, both, none. This is taught to children in school, even as young as kindergarten, but should only be taught to children by their parents when they are ready. This is but one way the government, again, sexualizes children, by educating them younger and younger about things that shouldn't matter at that age. Pedophilia stems from severe childhood trauma. If it's not clear from what I've explained so far, I'll bridge the gap. An adult pedophile who has been abused as a child may have been trained to conceal and fabricate the reality of what actually happened to avoid further harm from their abuser. This develops into a narcissistic personality, and with sexual abuse at play, a pedophilic tendencies emerge. Since they know how to manipulate and lie to people, which they have been doing for their entire life, they can rise to the top of any power structure. We see few people who ethically fought hard to acquire their power, since most people who knew how to manipulate the system have been able to get ahead. We are naturally sexual creatures. This is the way we reproduce and connect to this vast energy that surrounds us. Nevertheless, we are made ashamed of our sexuality by what society decrees to be right and wrong, and by whatever our family makes us feel ashamed of. For instance, if you were shamed by your parents for masturbating, then we may seek out ways to satisfy our sexual urges in secret, which could turn into more shame and guilt, especially when we involve other people. We may have been shamed by our abuser, which makes us insecure about ourselves. The sad aftermath of sexual abuse is that it's one of the most difficult things to discuss and overcome. This is because of how society views sexuality and sexual expression. But if you have been abused, it is possible to overcome it. No matter how ashamed you are of your body, or even the shame and guilt associated with masturbation, in time, you can heal. With regard to pedophiles, shaming them won't resolve the issue. Rather, they should be given the right information and access to counseling so they can understand their feelings and attraction towards children, and be able to resolve their past issues causing their destructive behavior. This is possible if the pedophile is given access to the right tools. It's so important to share this information any way you can. With censorship on the rise, it would be buried and hidden, and we must fight against that. However you can support this cause will fight the censorship. If you would like to help spread the message of personal growth and natural health, feel free to donate via Patreon for exclusive rewards. Thank you to my supporters for helping make this a reality. Sign up for my free email newsletter and be sure to follow me on social media and check out my other content. Thank you so much. If you have any other input on this topic, I would love to hear it, so please feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you agree or disagree with, and or how this has helped you or someone close to you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching my video. If you would like more content, please feel free to subscribe.